Hello, I'm Clayton Burch, State Superintendent of Schools. As we gear up looking at January 19th and what it means to come back in person, we know there's a lot to discuss. Everything from the vaccine to our mitigation strategies to the CARES funding coming to support our state and local government agencies. But this week we really want to focus on what it means to come back and make that transition back to in-person after the holidays. And with us today is Superintendent Dr. Tom Williams. Tom, welcome.
Thank you.
As a superintendent, you've got a lot on your plate. You in Kanawha County have been really focused on supporting in person, even back in the fall, well before the map or any changes were made. Talk a little bit about Kanawha County's views on in-person instruction.
Well, we feel it's vitally important to have our kids in school. There's nothing that beats a teacher in person. While virtual may be good in some situations, and e-learning, which is another version that we have of our virtual, nothing beats the teacher. And so we were in person most all fall, and it worked well. We did have some issues, of course. We've made sure our teachers have had the PPE that they need, as well as our students. But we've got a whole generation of kids that if we're not careful, they're going to be lost. We need kids to know how to read and do math. And they learn those in pre-K, K, first, second, third grade. And if they fall behind then it's difficult to get them caught up. And that's why we feel it's so important for our kids to be in person.
We've continued to talk about that we want to honor families' options to continue the virtual, and I know in Kanawha County the e-learning option. But trying to get them back to in person as best we can. Not only are we concerned about their academics, but we're really, really concerned about the social, emotional, and trauma these children may face. Kanawha County's done a great job continuing to feed children, and if I'm not mistaken, check in on children even when you had to go remote.
Yes.
How concerned are you about, as a superintendent, on the social, emotional welfare?
Very concerned. We have students, I think one of the statistics I've seen is that the referrals to CPS, Child Protective Services, is down tremendously, and we know that the abuse hasn't stopped. It's just not being reported. And we need our children in school so that we can keep eyes on them to make sure they're okay. Some of them have lost parents, some of them are being raised by their grandparents who are afraid, which the fear then goes on to the child. We need our kids back so that we can make sure they are okay. We have fed our students almost continually since March. Our bus drivers and cooks have done an outstanding job. The bus driver will go by a house, and if the child hasn't come out, the bus driver will honk the horn to make sure the kid gets out there to pick up their meals. I mean, they have just done tremendous work in feeding our kids. And in a way, that's sort of sad that our kids need the food they get from us in order to not be hungry. And that's just a sad statement, I think. But we're so thankful we can do it.
Well, we are very thankful. We've enjoyed all the stories from the bus drivers and the cooks and the teachers who have helped during this time. As you look to coming back in person, we know that we're keeping the needs of children first. But right behind that is the safety of staff. Kanawha County's done an excellent job with mitigation strategies. We know the transmission rate in the schools has been low. We keep saying this idea that it's not reflective of the community, but there's actually a reason for that. We've all put strategies in place to identify and quickly work with the local health departments on outbreaks. How's that gone in Kanawha County over the fall?
We have a tremendous relationship with the Kanawha Charleston Health Department. Dr. Young and Mr. Law there have been absolutely fantastic. They offer advice, give advice, make suggestions. It's really been good. But we also have the mitigation strategies. All of our students, pre-K through 12, wear a mask. And really, the kids do fantastic with that. We've had very, very few issues with children wearing masks. So we've social distanced as much as possible, not 6 feet in every classroom, but as much as we possibly could, we have socially distanced. And, we have hand washing. And we have the antiseptic for your hands, and we've got all of that available. Masks are at school. Of course, now everyone likes to have their own special mask. It's been a fundraiser for some of our schools to make their own school mask and sell it. So that's a positive that's come out of COVID. We've tried to follow all of the rules. Our elementary school and high schools have seating charts for the cafeteria. If you would have ever told me you could have a high school seating chart in a cafeteria, I never would have believed it. Elementary people are good at that. They do that all the time. But for those of us who were high school people, they've just done fantastic.
You know, Tom, I'm so glad you brought up the mitigation strategies and the mask wearing, because as proud as I am, I cannot find another state that has put our teachers at a high a level as possible in getting vaccines. By the time this airs, we're going to have about 18 to 19,000 teachers and staff vaccinated. So with that being said, you know, we cannot drop our guard on the mitigation strategies. No. Kanawha County's gone a little bit a step above and beyond. You have actually been requiring masks clear down, as you said, into the pre-K kindergarten.
Correct. And
have had hardly any trouble with young children wearing masks.
That's correct. You know, we decided from day one that this is what we would do. And some of the little ones, the pre-K kids, will wear a shield so that the teacher can see their mouth when they're forming letters and doing things like that for their reading and phonics. But for the most part, they wear their masks, and it just hasn't been an issue.
You know, the last mitigation strategy I want to focus on is we continue to hear the 6 feet. And I know early on we were all trying to do that, but early on we also with the color-coded map, didn't require masks for all at all times. Knowing now what we know masks are very effective. So will Kanawha County be changing any of its policies on mask wearing, or will you continue to wear masks at all times?
No, we will continue to wear masks at all times, and we hope and pray that by the spring everyone's vaccinated, this has gone away, and the kids can have a normal summer, although we will be doing some things this summer and second semester to help kids get prepared for the next grade. I won't say caught up because I don't know that that's possible, but prepared for the next grade. And but we hope that after this school year that won't be necessary anymore.
Well, let's target on 2 final questions for you, Superintendent. Preparing for the summer and preparing for the next grade. Everybody from our children down into pre-K through 3rd grade, our older elementary, our middle school, even our high school students. I've continued to say we cannot let the pandemic put a pause on their future. You've got a large group of children that are going to be moving on next year. How do you attack that idea of mitigating as much of the gap as possible, but also preparing them for 2021 school year?
Well, what we're going to do second semester for the high school kids, we're going to provide credit recovery for those students who haven't been successful, but we're also going to do some preparation for kids in the Promise Scholarship. You know, we haven't, the number of kids who have applied for it and qualify for it is way down in Kanawha County, and we need to get that back up. So we think if we provide some test prep and some of those type things, we can get their scores back up and get them ready for the Promise Scholarship. For the younger ones, we're going to focus on math and ELA, English Language Arts, because those 2 things are what everything else builds on. And if you can do math and you can read, you will be successful in life. And so we're looking at some ways to bring teachers in after hours and maybe on the weekends during the school year, the remainder of the school year, to work with that. And then this summer we're planning some intensive programming, not your normal summer school, but some intensive programming in math, English Language Arts to get our kids caught up or ready for. So if you were in, let's say, 4th grade this year, then this summer you would go to a 4th grade program to make sure you had all of the skills necessary to be successful in the 5th grade.
You know, the final question I have as we close out this week's interview is, you know, we try to talk about as much flexibility to give you as a local superintendent working with your local board. And I don't know that many people realize that there's so many decisions that go into coming back to school, looking at the spring, looking at the summer, looking at the future. The federal government has now extended an additional $339 million to the state of West Virginia, and it'll be divided amongst the counties. So that is a lot of money that comes into a county such as Kanawha County. What are some of the big plans that we can look at for Kanawha County with those dollars?
One of the things we're doing is we're going to provide some extra counseling and psychologists for the remainder of this year and into the summer. We've got some social emotional programs we're doing. Of course, our summer school plans that we have, extra staff. We're also looking at, because the second round of money includes air quality and HVAC, We're blessed in Kanawha County to have an excess levy, and that's addressed a lot of our HVAC and issues. But this will allow us to tackle 7 or 8 more schools, and possibly more. So those are, and staffing's coming up, and we're looking at using some of that money for staffing so that we can keep the levels that we have, and to make sure everyone is prepared. And even next year, using some of that for interventionists in the schools that will help those kids who maybe aren't quite ready for 5th grade work. The math and English interventionists can work with them to get them there.
We can't thank you enough. You represent one of 55 superintendents that day in and day out have to make some really tough decisions with their local Board of Education, their teachers, their principals, service personnel. On behalf of the West Virginia Board of Education, I just cannot thank you enough for day in and day out what you do for our children.
Well, and I back at you, because the support that we've received from you and Michelle and the department and the board has been very, very much appreciated. Every time I pick up the phone, if I pick up the phone to call, you all answer it. That means, especially a new superintendent, that means a lot.
Thank you very much, Tom.
All right, thank you.